Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Something Big podcast sponsored by Seven Lending. Today, I have a really good friend and a kick-ass realtor who you really want to know, Russell.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming into the show.
Thanks for having me again.
Yes. No.
Appreciate your time as always.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know Russell, I actually want to give a quick background. I met him a few months ago when you had come to our office for a similar shooting or meeting another mortgage broker. And he was just sitting in the lobby, and I think I was working, and just happened to be a natural conversation.
Yeah.
One of the nicest and the most genuine realtors you'll meet. And that's the one thing I remember about meeting him. He was just so kind, so authentic, so human. And then we started getting to know his story. And I was so impressed. And what he did within, I think this is now your second year in business, right? Or finishing second.
I just passed my second year.
Yeah,
so
just
it'll
finished.
be like my official third year,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But 2 years have gone by now.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So here's the story, I think, and we'll dig deeper on a man who came from Winnipeg,
Yep.
first took the car industry by storm,
Yep.
then ventured into real estate,
Yep.
but a lot of amazing things to learn, a guy who's focused on his growth. So
Mhm.
thank you so much for being here, Russell.
Thanks, Raghav.
Yeah, and then, what we like to do in this podcast is we love to first start with your story, what got you to the point of real estate,
Yep.
what you were doing prior, what was the journey like.
Mhm.
And the whole idea of the podcast is I wanted to be like, hey, if this is 1 hour I get to spend with you, I learn as much from your life. And it's like you're mentoring me, and I'm trying to learn from how you faced your adversities.
Yep.
What was your way of thinking like?
Mhm.
And the idea is for all our listeners or viewers to be able to every week meet someone who's done something big in some aspect
Yep.
and learn from them and see what they can take away.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole idea of the podcast.
That's right. And that's the nice thing about technology nowadays is you don't have to sit down with somebody for 1 hour of coffee. You can literally drive to work and listen to two people just having conversations. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And I'd love to share my
Yeah.
journey.
Absolutely.
And if I can help someone out there, I would love to do so.
Definitely. So let's start. So you grew up in Winnipeg? You were there for most of the time?
Yes. So I was born and grew up in the Philippines. And then we migrated to Winnipeg when I was 14 years old. And then I lived there up until I was about 27. And that's when I moved to Vancouver by myself.
Yeah.
And it was actually during the pandemic, 2020,
Yeah.
when most people were exiting the big city. And at that time, I was in the car business for about 7 years.
Yeah.
I was the number one salesperson in our automotive group of like 20 plus dealerships. So I had a really good life, properties, real estate, families out there.
You
And
were in your 20s that time.
I was in my 20s at that time,
Mhm.
early 20s. And during COVID, I think just like what happened to most people, it made you reflect on your life a bit deeper.
Mm.
Now that you have a little bit more time, you're not working, you're not as busy going out there. And I just thought, Vancouver is such a lovely and lucrative place to be. Career-wise, having work-life balance. You see all these nice cities like New York, Toronto, but I feel like they're very hustling and bustling city. And I wanted more of a city where you can actually work and also enjoy it at the same time. And Vancouver's known for like really nice nature and just great weather all year round.
Yeah.
No snow, hopefully, maybe one week
Once or
or
twice.
once or twice.
Yeah. And you
But-
came from so
And I came from Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, so
And I thought to myself, I'm young, I don't have kids yet, or I don't have family.
Mm.
I said, what's the worst case scenario if I quit my job, move to a new city?
yeah.
Well, the worst thing is I don't like it,
Yeah.
or I fail, or I realize that this is not for me, and I can always go back to what I was doing before. So I took the risk, I took the chance, I packed my bags, I told my boss at that time, hey, I'm moving to Vancouver, and I already had my place lined up, and I didn't even have a job
Mhm.
yet lined up
Good.
when I
Yeah.
moved here. All I
Yeah.
had was my clothes, and that's
Yeah.
it.
But you, I think, had that mindset that, even if it doesn't work out, I can start from scratch.
Exactly.
Or I'm not afraid to fail.
That's right. And that was the most exciting part for me, was that I wanted something new and something fresh. I didn't care what I was going to do as long as I got here. I told myself I'll figure it out. If I have to bag groceries once I'm here, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
But luckily, I was introduced to someone, and I started in the car dealership when I got here in the beginning.
Yeah. Sorry, before we jump into that part,
Mm-hmm.
so this was what, 2021 only. So in COVID,
2020
oh,
when
20.
I
Okay.
moved here.
Okay.
Around April, end of
Okay.
April. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
end of
gotcha.
April when I moved here. And pretty much I drove here 25 hours straight. Again, just with my car and my clothes. I didn't have a bed, no furniture. I did have an apartment that I was able to secure while I was in Winnipeg. And then I was sleeping on an air mattress pretty much for 2, 3 weeks until I got an actual bed. But soon as I got here, I interviewed with the vice president of the automotive dealership, Ali, and then I started pretty much the next day.
Mm.
And from there, I just was enjoying myself very much because it didn't feel like work to me. I felt like I was on a vacation
Yeah.
every day because I was in Vancouver. And when you're coming from a small town
Yeah.
like Winnipeg, you really appreciate the mountains more, the
Yeah.
sea, and
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
destinations.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So on Winnipeg, like if I can just, go one step backward.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you were number one in car sales there for the automotive group you worked for.
Yeah.
Amongst 20 dealerships or something.
Correct.
So what was it when you started? You probably started as a late teenager or high school, like a college student.
I believe I started when I was about 21, 22 years
Okay.
old.
Okay.
And I came straight from working at McDonald's for 5 years.
Okay. So what were you like when you first started? Were you any good? Were you
You know, when
nat-
I first started, I didn't know whether what was considered good or what was considered bad, but
Yeah.
I thought that I was on the right path
Yeah.
when I think within the first 3 weeks was spent training, watching videos. And then as soon as I was out, I was pretty much out of the gate. As soon as I finished my training, I sold my first car and then my second car. Next thing you know, I was selling like 10 to 15 cars. And industry average, if you're a star performer, you'd be selling around 10 cars or 15 cars. So pretty much on my first year, I already sold like 166 cars in my first full year.
Wow.
And that's coming from somebody with no background in
Yeah.
automotive or
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
And then every year since then, I probably added about 50 to 60
Yeah.
sales on top of what I
Yeah.
did the previous year.
Why do you think you were good right when you like what made you that better than the average that
Yeah.
you were able to hit it right away?
I think it's all about just how you handle people.
Mm.
Most people think, oh, you need to learn or know a lot about cars.
Mm.
But that's not true because really you just have to have a lot of empathy with
Yeah.
people. You need to be able to relate to them.
Yeah.
You need to have a good listening skill. You need to be able to communicate well with them. You can't be overriding them. And I think you also need some type of adaptability because not every person is the same. Some people need more details before they make a decision. Some people want them to be in control of the sales process. So you just need to learn that. And also, I think one of the reasons why I was good at it was because I was also watching how the top performers were doing it at that time. So I just looked into who's doing well in this industry, right? And then I also interviewed or asked them questions. Of course, politely, I wanted to see if they had some time. And then I also paid attention to what they were doing. Hey, this person is doing really well. What are they doing? And how can I incorporate that or make it better for myself? So I think just watching and paying attention to the people that are doing well in whatever industry you're in and add value to them, ask them questions, but don't just keep taking,
Yeah.
right? If you say Raghav is the number one mortgage broker, I'm not going to say, hey, Raghav, can I have like 1 hour of your time? It doesn't work like that. You have to provide some value.
Yeah. So how did you provide value to them at that stage?
I think at that time, of course, like befriended them first. I didn't want to come across as somebody that's just wanting to.
Mm.
I came as harmless. I don't want to make
You
it
built a
seem
genuine relationship.
genuine relationship. I don't want them to feel like I'm gonna take away business from them or step on their toes. So I offered to help as well. Like, hey, is there anything I can help you with? I find that you're really busy with this, and can I take you for lunch? I'll pay for the lunch, whatever it could be. And then sometimes If they are too busy and they don't want to sit down or meet with you, then just watch what they're doing, really. And I think you'll notice that everybody has patterns. Either they have really good habits, they're the first ones to come to work, they're the last ones to leave work, they're always on the phone, they're always following up with their clients, making sure they're happy. So I think everybody has their own process. You just have to find the one that suits and fits you, pretty much.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I think it's we don't realize it as much,
Mm-hmm.
but if you harmlessly and genuinely build relationships and ask people for help or guidance,
Mm-hmm.
so many people, even if they're 10 steps ahead of you, are willing to do that.
Absolutely.
Like I learned this and I was like, man, this is like the cheat code to life.
Yeah, even I think Steve Jobs, he was interviewed before when he wasn't the Steve Jobs that we knew now, but he just picked up the phone and called the factory and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm a young guy and I want to learn about computers.
Yeah.
I need this tool." And he was offered
I
a
think for
job,
free. Oh, was he offered a job?
something like that.
Oh,
But
wow.
most people, you'll find that in the beginning, you're either willing to work for free or mentor under someone. And I think, yes, most people are more than willing to help if they,
Yeah.
and you just have to ask and don't be afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then once just fast forward, you're in Vancouver, you started with a car dealership. And I
Yep.
think, were you in more luxury cars
Yes.
in that segment?
Yes.
And of course, you don't know a lot of people in the city.
Zero.
So the first few months, was it like right away you got traction, or was it more dealership working? Like, how did you build your business there?
It was pretty much right away. I think there's a power in your subconscious mind.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you set a goal, like let's say, hey, I want to sell 10 cars this month, for some reason you just attract people in your business,
Yeah.
either people that walks into the door of the dealership
Yeah.
or internet leads
Yeah.
or referral.
Yeah.
It's just, you just have to have like a positive mindset and attitude.
Yeah.
And that's very important in anything. So example, if you surround yourself with people and all they say and talk about is, oh, nobody's going to be buying cars because it's COVID, people are laid off from their jobs. Well, that's negative thinking. So now your mind is programmed to not sell. But if you think in positive direction, so for example, you know what, a lot of people can't travel, so they saved up a lot of money and there's nowhere to go because the borders are shut down. So I think they're going to want to treat themselves to a new car.
It's that
So
possibility thinking.
Possibility thinking. So
Yes.
there's always two ways to go about it.
Yeah.
You can either be depressed or you can be optimistic. And at that time, I just chose to be optimistic, and business came. And also, it's sort of a do or die. If you come to a city, a big city, and you want to try and make it and be able to pay your bills, so you're going to hustle. You're not just going to be going for lunch for 3 hours. So I think just be alert for opportunities. And also, if you prove to your management that you're capable, they're going to give you opportunities as well. Like, hey, I have got this customer nobody's looking after. And I find that with car business, a lot of people, once you're in it for a long time, you tend to become more jaded and judgmental. So you see somebody walk in the door and you say, oh,
Yeah,
you know
you
what?
judge them.
It doesn't look like they'll buy a car or they can't afford it. But if you just get rid of that mindset and say, hey, every customer is a potential.
But I actually want to ask you on this, because the perception,
Mm-hmm.
and not trying to stereotype in general, is people don't trust more car salesmen. A lot of car salesmen. There's a
for
lot
sure.
of bad perceptions about them a lot of times. Also with customer service, and some of us have had bad experiences there. So in an industry like that, when you know it's a lot about money, sales, how much you can close, like the focus is on that for a lot of people. Everyone's different. How did you, and you seem like the opposite personality of that. You're not that guy who's cocky. You're not trying to push other people. How did you maintain that in a place like Vancouver?
That's a great question. So first of all, I think the way your appearance is, so the way you put yourself together is the first thing. How you're groomed. Are you properly putting on a suit or a shirt? Is it ironed? Is it fitted pants? Do you look like you're dressed for success type of thing? Nothing too overly dressed where the customer might think, oh, he's making too much money. I don't know if I can trust him. And then secondly, I think as soon as they hear you talk and
Mm.
speak,
Mm.
they realize that, okay, this person is genuine and he
Mm.
does want to help me.
Mm.
So I think it's from the way you speak and
Mm.
also the way you present
Mm.
yourself. Most people, they want to talk first. I think it's better if you just listen to what the client's looking for. And also, I find that you ask your way to a sale. You don't tell them how to buy things. People want to, there's a quote, they say people want to buy things, but they don't want to be sold to.
Mm.
So how can you help this person that walked in? Because in car dealership, 80, 90 to 95% of the time, they're already convinced that they're going to buy, right?
Mm.
Otherwise, they're not going to drive all the way to the car dealership. They're not there to look for furniture or sofa. They're not browsing. They've already done massive research online, whether looking at car and driver reviews or talking to their family. All you have to do is just be a genuine, nice person, help them, see how you can make the process smooth, and
Yeah.
ultimately they'll find that, okay, we've visited other dealership, but this person is actually not selling us anything. All he's doing is asking us questions. So I think
Yeah.
that's why my
Yeah.
approach worked.
But Russell, so just diving deeper on this. So you talk about adding value,
Mm-hmm.
about caring and leading them in the nice way, not trying to be like, oh, do this, but actually asking questions, listening. All of these things are things um, which are habits you've picked up on,
Mm-hmm.
or psychology you've acquired over time, or something you've built.
I I think it's both. I like to sell how I want to be sold to.
Yes.
So for example, when you go to a clothing store and you walk right in, do you want to have a little bit of time to browse on your
Mm.
own first
Mm.
and then have somebody come and approach you and ask you, hey Raghav, how are you doing? That suit looks really good on you. If I can, may I suggest this one? What is it you're looking for? Is it for a wedding, for business, for casual? So it's really coming more from a helpful mindset. But if somebody comes in and says, hey, are you okay? You're doing fine. And most people, their reflective answer is, oh, I'm just looking, right? So you just want to think about, okay, if I was buying a car or a house or a suit, how do I want somebody to approach me? And then if you just approach them the way you want to be approached, then I think it's going to be okay. And then I also read a lot of like books, like
Yeah, that's what I was
self
really want to know. Yeah.
development, personal development books. One of the more impactful books when I was first starting was Seven Habits of Highly Effective People,
Stephen Covey.
Stephen Covey. And
Yeah.
also I was working, I think, from my past, a little bit about my past experience too. When I was working at McDonald's, it was really high volume. I was 19, 18 years old at that time, and you're obligated to manage a restaurant, right? So
Yeah.
you're doing cashier, your till, your food, everything.
High turnover
And you
restaurant.
have to
Yeah.
deal with all these clients asking for a sweet and sour sauce extra. So you just have to be like very courteous. And yeah, I think that's a
Mm.
little bit a mix of everything
Yeah.
helped me build my customer
Yeah.
service
But
skills.
I actually want to know what built Russell as a person. Like you read a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
tell me about, like, in the background. We see the sales part, we see the numbers, and
Mm-hmm.
of course, the good stuff or the social media stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like behind the scenes, how are you working on yourself? Like, what do you do usually?
That's a good question. So they say you want to have like three hobbies:
Yeah.
one that develops you personally, one that develops you physically, and I think one that, just
Makes you money.
makes you money. Exactly.
Yeah.
So one for money, one for physical. So I think I tried hitting all of that
Okay.
at the same time.
So what do you do for personal growth, and what do you do
For
for health?
personal growth, I read a lot of books and I also listened to a lot of podcasts.
Do
And
you do
then,
that now?
yeah, I still do it now.
Nice.
And that's the nice thing about habit is it just continues on. It never stops. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't wake
Mm.
up one day and say, maybe today I'm not going to brush my teeth. No, it's just something
Yeah.
that's part of your
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So reading and listening to podcasts was just a part of my day. Same with exercise. So I work out. I try to get at least an hour in. And if you don't have a gym, it's fine. Even if you just do some stretching, yoga, meditation, something nice for your body, or walking or biking, or if you have kids, walking them to school or something. And for money, then yeah, I think with the other two things that you're doing, naturally you're gonna start earning more money because you're in a good mood, you're in a good physical shape, so you're gonna keep on
Yeah.
sort of climbing
Yeah.
the ladder of
Yeah. Yeah.
either corporate or sales.
So have people around you made a big difference to your success or to this mindset of growth?
That's a great question. I think not as much as I'm more of an independent, more isolated type of person. I
Mm.
know I'm in sales, but I still feel like I
Yeah.
identify more of as an introvert
Yeah.
than an
And that's how
extrovert.
you recharge. Yeah.
And that's how I recharge. So sometimes I don't really have a group or a
Mm.
mastermind of people where I'm hanging out
Mm.
around with.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that help me along the way, but I'm not constantly with people every single time. Like you said,
Mm.
you just have to recharge from time to
Mm.
time on your
Mm.
own. But if you feel like you need to have that group to be around in, then by all means, right? Because
Mm.
but just pick the group that's doing better than you, I would say, because they're gonna pull you to that
Mm.
direction.
Mm. Yeah. And so have you? But I think because you don't you're independent with that. I think a lot of criticism or people saying you can't do it hasn't affected you as much. Is that right?
I think that once you start proving your worth, people stop doubting you.
Mm.
I think once you and success snowballs, right? If you do one good job in one particular thing, there's a good pattern that you're gonna do a good job on the next few things that you set to achieve, because that's just your reputation. If Raghav can close this deal and he's very good at doing this, I think he's gonna be good at doing this
Mm.
other things as
Mm.
well. So I think I didn't have a lot of doubters, and even if I did, I just didn't pay attention to them. I'm more just focused on what I need to do and who really matters in my
Yeah.
life, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah.
And then so now just coming back to the story, you were working in a dealership in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Then what switched which got you to go in real estate?
It's so funny because I saw this real estate agent and he was really successful and he was picking up a really expensive car from
Yeah.
the dealership.
Yeah.
And I asked myself, just like everybody does, right?
Uh,
What does this guy do
yeah.
for a
What does he
living?
do?
If he's a lawyer, if he's a
Yeah.
doctor, then obviously it's like, okay, well, I'm going to need to take some education
Yeah.
in
5,
years,
10
right?
years of school.
But when I found out, oh, they're a real estate agent, okay, so that's possible. As soon as I see that, okay, something is possible, I think I could do it as well. That's
Mm.
just my mindset.
Same. Yeah.
So I went into it, but I didn't go into it for the material reasons or to be able to buy the same thing. It's just more for like, okay, I think that if I stayed at the job where I am now, I don't think I'll be able to afford that car.
Mm.
Even if I saved all my money and busted my butt and worked
Mm.
16 hours overtime, I don't think I'll be able to afford that car. But in real estate, if I start now,
Mm.
even if I don't achieve, at least I can get it going now, right? Because most people say, oh, I wish I had started 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Well, guess what? You didn't. So the best time to do it is now. And if I start planting the seeds now, maybe in 5 or 10 years, I can also build something and at least achieve some sort of financial freedom
Yeah.
or some worthy goal.
Mm.
Yeah. So that's what pushed me,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be honest,
Yeah.
in real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I think it was such a close jump from selling cars.
Yeah.
It was just one more jump, which
Yeah.
is selling real estate. And again, going back to the mindset, what do I have got to lose?
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I can always just go back
Yeah.
to selling cars if
Yeah.
it doesn't work out.
And it's the same thing. I interviewed a few other people, and everyone had the same thing. That
Mm.
hey, what do I have to? And some of them were in different stages of life, and I think that is so important with any kind of like a business or an entrepreneurial venture, anything you do.
Mhm.
Like I remember before I started, I was turning 7. I was doing a job which in a similar field, and it was a really comfortable,
Mhm.
right? I was like, but I gotta do it.
Yeah.
I didn't have the right savings,
Yeah.
but I was like, man, you know what? Worst case, I'll do something on the weekends.
Yeah.
I'm sure I won't starve, but I gotta do this. Like I don't know how, but it needs to happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same with you and a lot of people I've met here.
Yeah.
Is they were so ready to fail, even though they knew they would not fail. But in their
Mhm.
mind, they were like, well, worst case, this is how I cover myself.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
The, there's pain of regrets,
Yes.
and you don't want to later on realize, oh, I wish I had tried
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
So you just minimize all the regrets you can have.
Yeah.
Just think of the future and say, if I if I do this and it doesn't work out, would I regret it more than if I didn't try it and always wonder what could have been?
Mm.
And I think the universe will reward you
Mm.
when you take a leap of faith
Mm.
and when you get out of the comfort zone. And they say the worst thing is that it doesn't work out, but you learn.
Yeah.
So now you're smarter. Now you're
Absolutely.
better. Maybe the next business venture, you try again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And Mark Cuban says you only need to be right once.
Yes.
You can have a
Yeah.
999 failures, but the one success could be the big
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
that it's like a home run for you.
And
So
I think this applies in so many areas. It's
So
like a
many
boxing
areas.
match. Like
Yeah.
for the first 5 rounds, like literally I realized this a few weeks ago. I was going through some problems I couldn't figure out.
Mhm.
I was like, man, this sucks. Like sometimes it just drains you. I was like, I can't get out of this. Like I don't know how to deal with this. It feels like I'm losing every single day in
Yeah.
a certain area.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? But I just have to win one round. Like in a boxing match, I can get punched in the face for the first 5 rounds.
Yeah.
But in the 6th round, if I punch them and knock
Knock
them
them
out,
out.
I win.
Yeah.
That's all I need is that.
Exactly.
So you can get a lot of
Yeah.
like the suck,
Yeah.
and then you have success.
That's a good
That's what
logic. Yeah. And
yeah.
I think most people, if you just set your maybe expectation bar really low and say, I think that you're gonna be less afraid to fail. Most people have this high expectation. Oh, on my first year, I'm gonna achieve all of this. I'm not saying to be pessimistic. I think that you should hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So that's sort of my mentality. I hope for the best. I want it to
Yeah.
be the best outcome, but I'm also prepared for the worst. That way you're not disappointed. Let's say you set a goal of like 20 or 30 houses on your
Yeah.
first year.
Actually, sorry, just to take an example of that, what was your expectation when you started in real estate?
I had zero expectation. When I first started, I actually took a line of credit
Yeah.
from the bank
Yeah.
for $50,000 because I thought to myself, in case I don't make any money for 6 to 8 months, I need to be able to
Yeah.
afford my
And you were
bills.
prepared for that.
And I was
Yeah.
prepared for that. And I had zero expectation. But from that, I just hustled. And next thing you know, there was a sale that came in on like literally my first week, and then a second sale, and then a third sale. And then my first year, I sold over 30 properties.
Wow.
So just be prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now with social media, you see all these people driving fancy cars, driving fancy suit, but you don't have to go all out. You don't have to be wearing a Rolex on your first day as a realtor.
Yeah.
Just be more conservative,
Mm.
and good things will come when you work hard. I think that there's a cause and effect. If you're always working, putting in the hours, dialing the phone, there's going to have to be some kind of return.
So I actually agree with that. But then I also realize sometimes in seasons, you can be going all in and working, say, 16 hours a day, 12
Mhm.
hours a day, whatever that is for you. And you might not see something for a few days, weeks, whatever that is. But then life has a sense of humor that some days you'll be working less than 2 hours on something, but the results just seem to compound.
100%.
Yeah.
It's like a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
If you flip a coin
Yeah.
100 times,
Yeah.
you might get 60 or 70 tails.
Mhm.
Or, sorry, 50 tails, the first 50, right? And then the next 50 could be heads. It's just all chance, and you just have to take massive action. And it's all a numbers game. That's all I think about.
Yeah.
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 The more people you talk to,
Yeah.
the more people you have conversations with,
Yeah.
the more you're going to have a chance on
And
doing business.
yeah, no, thank you. And can you tell me a story about your first sale?
My first sale?
What was it like? How did you get it?
So it's so funny because, again, I didn't come from here. I have zero connections, no background, no idea about real estate. But I just started telling people. I had a conversation with a friend and person I know from Winnipeg, and they said, hey, we're moving to Vancouver. Or I said that, oh, by the way, I'm not in car sales anymore. I'm actually transitioning over to real estate. And they said, oh, wonderful, because we're actually moving there. Maybe you can help us find the property. And at that time, I actually didn't have my license yet. So I'm like, oh, what do I do? I can't legitimately sell you a property. So what I did was I looked at the brokerage I was working with, contacted this person. I said, hey, I've got a referral for you. It's my friend. He wants to buy a property, and I don't have my license yet. I'm hoping you can help me. And we didn't talk about the money. I didn't say, hey, could you give me this much if it does close? I never put money first. I said, let's just help him find the property. And next thing you know, this guy that I know, friend, bought like pretty much $1 million property, sight unseen. They didn't even see the property. It was just so easy for the other realtor, and closed it. They moved in, and that was my first kind of sale, even
Yeah.
though it wasn't
Yeah.
on my own name.
Yeah.
And then after that, more I you just advertise, oh, I just sold this, or
Yeah.
just
So that was the first, but what was your second sale then?
my second sale was somebody that's wanting to buy a pre-sale.
Mm.
They saw that I was a realtor at that time. I already made my announcement. Hey guys, just want to let you know I'm a realtor. Second sale was somebody that's wanting to invest in a pre-sale. And then third person was also somebody that's a mortgage advisor and they wanted to buy a property for themselves.
But how did they know you?
They were all from Winnipeg.
Oh, wow.
So a lot of my client base
Yeah.
when I first started and
Yeah.
up until now are people that are either buying investment properties
Yeah.
or looking to relocate
Mm.
or move from Winnipeg to here.
Okay, wow.
So it's such an untapped market and such a blue ocean strategy.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for it because I didn't have it in my business plan.
It just worked
It
out
just
for you.
worked out.
Yeah.
And nobody else taps into it like
Yeah.
I do because
Plus, you've done it yourself.
I've done it myself.
Yeah.
I came from Winnipeg. I moved here. I think I can navigate you to come here.
Yeah.
Most people are all sort of fighting for the same neighborhood, same
Yeah.
client base here,
Yeah.
but in Winnipeg, it was just more of my own network. And one thing led to another. As soon as I started making money in real estate, I then reinvested a portion back into marketing. So I put my name out there. I
Yeah.
put myself on advertising, buses, benches, shelters, elevator ads, just to put my name out there. And then I started mailing the neighborhood that I'm living in. And yeah, it I had people started calling me, interviewing me, asked me to list their homes. And now those people that I've sold their homes, they're referring me to their family. So it's sort of just expanded
Yeah.
from there.
So out of like removing the referral aspect aside, because that is of course the number one way of doing business,
Yeah.
word of mouth. What marketing activity do you think benefited you the most?
I think social media. So Facebook and Instagram pretty much are all free.
Mm.
The other activity that benefited me the most is open houses.
Mm.
So as a realtor, we're so lucky because we don't really have a set schedule that we have to work 8 or 9 hours.
Yeah.
If you just devote 2 hours of your day during the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, you can talk to a lot of people, get to know the neighborhoods, talk to people that live in the building or the area of the house. And you'll get to meet people that are actually, maybe they're not looking to transact now, but they'll transact tomorrow, next year, 6 months from now. It's a long game. Just be patient and just show that you're very knowledgeable in what you're doing.
So as someone who was just starting off in real estate, how did you gain that knowledge?
It's actually showing up to work every day. So every day, pretty much from Monday to Friday, I was at the office. And that's the nice thing about picking a good brokerage as well. You want to pick a good brokerage where there's a lot of veterans. You don't want to go in somewhere where there's nobody coming into the office or everybody's new. You want to go somewhere where there's people with lots of experience. Because when I went to the office, I was there sitting down. I was paying attention to the market. I was watching every sale that happened. I was watching every house that came onto the market. And I was always sort of tracing, oh, how come that property sold more than the other property, even though they're on the same street? Oh, because this person staged it. Oh, the description is better. The photos that they use is more professional. So all of that, and then a mix of asking, again, the veterans from the office, hey, like, my name is Russell. If I can help you with an open house this weekend, please let me know. I'm new to the business, but I'm sure I can. And just from doing open houses, I got to know the buildings and then the neighborhoods.
So you just helped out other realtors?
I just helped out other realtors.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
when I helped them, they helped me in return.
Yeah.
And, some people are just very helpful and they'll say, you know what, you should really focus on this area. And, this is what's happening in that area. This is what's the advantage and disadvantage of being in this neighborhood or doing it this way. So I got a lot of knowledge and experience from just coming and showing up to the office.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So your first year was full of that.
Full of that.
And then doing that.
Yeah.
Walk me through your second year because, and what I want to preface that is I know last year a lot of people had the assumption, oh, real estate's going to be slow.
Yeah.
People had an assumption about the sentiment. And then, I think one of your things is you never let it, like your subconscious mind is so that, okay, it's still going to be busy. I'm still going to do it.
Exactly.
It's a great time. And it was a lot of good opportunities to buy.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of other people in real estate were like, oh, we're not going to have something to do, or they had other perceptions.
Exactly.
What was your second year like?
So my second year, again, I think you just have to tune out the news. First of all, number one, you don't want to pay attention every single time to what's happening in the news, because the news has to sell you something. And if it's not catchy and if it's not doom and gloom, then they're not going to have as much attention. And attention is what sells. It's a currency, right? So just stop looking at the doom and gloom and start looking at what you can control. What's in my control? Okay, well, contacting people, contacting my past clients, doing open houses every weekend, that's under my control. What I can't control is the interest rate. That's up to the Bank of Canada, right? So there's nothing I can't control about the interest rate. I can't change it to 4% when it's 6%. So I just started focusing on what I can control. Was my pretty much my second year. And also sometimes the name of the game is consistency. When something's worked for you for a long period of time, let's say for your first year, keep doing it or doubling it. And the things that no longer works for you, eliminate it. So double down or triple down on what works. So I'm finding that most people are trying to do so many things all at once. Let's say I'm going to try mailing. Oh, that doesn't work after trying it for 1 month. I'm going to try putting my face on the bus. Oh, that didn't work. I didn't get any business in 2 months. I'm going to try online leads. So now you're hopping from one thing to another and never staying consistent with one thing. But I think that you have to stick with one thing and let it mature and just keep doing a good job. And also, I found that most people now are all pretty much online. So you want to build a good online reputation. When they look up your name, are there reviews that pop up? Do you see pictures of yourself? Are you sharing testimonials or a portfolio of the properties you sold? Because if I looked you up and I see nothing about you, I don't know whether you're a good realtor or not.
I don't know if I can trust you.
It's like looking for a great Italian restaurant. Am I going to pick something that has 982 five-star reviews, or am I going to pick an Italian restaurant with 3.5 and 5 reviews? It's a no-brainer. I'm going to spend my money on where I think it's going to be.
Even if it's more expensive.
Even if it's more expensive. And for all I know, maybe the other joint is actually much better than the other one. It's just that the other one is more hyped and more reviews. So you want to build a good foundation and then build on that. Keep on working. Never let your foot off the gas. Most people, when they become too big or they have these early wins, they're like, "Oh, I'm good now. I'm just gonna
keep the momentum."
But you have to keep the momentum.
It doesn't come a lot, but when it does,
when it does, you have to capitalize on it. Most people, "Oh, I sell a house or I fund a big mortgage. I'm gonna go on vacation to Punta Cana or Mexico." No, use that money to make you more money. Use that momentum. Ask for more business. Advertise your sale. There's so many things you can do.
Bullish. Yeah.
Go bullish.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You read the book, The Compound Effect, right?
Yes.
It talks about the big mo.
Yeah.
That's what it says. Yeah,
the big momentum. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then, sorry, just going back to the second year, your attitude was, I'm going to double down on my effort.
Yes.
What did you end up, did you find in the second year you had your niche changed, or what did you end up doing?
So first, so when I finished my first year, I actually won a lot of awards from Remax and Greater Vancouver Board. I was named Rookie of the Year. I had like Platinum Club. So all of these awards pretty much solidified a little bit of my credentials. So like, oh, okay, this person can be trusted. He's good in the workplace. And then I just kept on building, and I had more knowledge about the real estate market at that time. And also, it's very important, I should note, that you want to build relationships with other real estate agents or whatever field you're in. Don't look at them as your competitor solely, because you're going to do a deal with them one day or another. So just have good relationships with every single person, because you never know. Let's say you're the listing agent, I'm the buyer's agent. You know me, and we're in multiple offers. There's a higher likelihood that you're going to do the deal with me because you trust that I'm going to get that deal done, and I'm not going to lie or cheat or do the wrong thing. So my second year was just more on like building relationship, and I cut down on some marketing, which I thought was not as effective as I'd like it to be.
I did that too last year.
So I didn't go zero, because You don't want to completely take out your presence,
Of course.
especially in the down market, because everybody else is pulling down on marketing and
still wanna be
spending
there.
money.
Yeah.
That's when you want to sort of
Yeah.
ramp up, but you
Yeah.
want to spend it wisely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to real estate, have you invested anywhere recently here?
Not yet. So I've just built up my capital and also just all reinvesting it back into
The business?
the business, but I do have some prospects
Yeah.
of what I want to do.
Yeah.
In
But
the
if you had to
futures.
invest money right now, like not as a client, not as someone else, just
Yeah.
you personally, what would you invest in?
If I could, I think house for
And
sure.
where? What location would you target?
I believe that anywhere, if you can get a good solid house and you feel like that neighborhood has potential, and I think in every neighborhood now there's always potential. Just buy it and
Yeah.
park your money there, and
Yeah.
it's gonna go
Yeah.
up
Okay.
in the future if you're not in a rush to liquidate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just on a different note, like you'll end up inspiring a lot of people I know who you meet and so many things. But if you see someone, in the young 20s, someone like us, like maybe an immigrant or however that is, and they're looking to get in real estate, whether that's a realtor or mortgage broker, what would be the biggest advice you'll give them?
I say start now.
Yeah.
And don't worry whether don't think, oh, I'm too young or I'm too inexperienced or I have bills to pay. I mean, yeah, that's important, but don't spend frivolously. Just save some cash, save some money, and you don't have to go all out and spend a lot of money on marketing. There's so many things that you can do for free. But if you're in your 20s and you think that in your heart this is something you want to do or even give it a try, I would say start now. And if you don't, some people are more entrepreneurial and they want to go alone. But if you can maybe join a team or find a mentor or help somebody, assist someone, at least you gain some knowledge and experience. You might not be the biggest name on your first year or have the biggest massive success, but everything compounds. So in 3, 4, 5 years, you would have 3 or 4, 5 years of knowledge that you wouldn't have had if you didn't start now. So don't worry about it. Things take time. If you see that if you can see somebody that has it all and doing top 1% and doing it all, the probability is they're older. They're in their late 30s or 40s or 50s. So it takes years. So plant the seeds. Be a student. You never really learn it all or know it all. Always ask questions. And now is the best time too, because when you're in your early 20s, you probably don't have kids or big commitments or big financial commitments or a family or a wife or a husband. So now is the time to, I would say, take risks when you have more time and just do it and seek the excitement and the journey more than the destination. Because most people are so fixated on, oh, I can't wait till I become top 1%. But I think it's the journey that's more exciting and rewarding.
It's more exciting how you goof up one deal,
how you grow
rescue one
up,
deal.
how you didn't know how to write a deal on your first day, and now you're writing deals while you're sleeping, something like that. Yeah.
So, and what is one thing you maybe learned especially in real estate in the last 2 years, or maybe now? You've seen highs, you've seen lows. You probably obviously have gone through seasons in which, dealing with the positive, negative situations. As a realtor, all of us go through that. What's something you learned now which you wish you knew maybe when you started real estate?
Something that just comes to my mind right now would be nothing will go the way you think it will go. When you think, oh, this is so easy, or things are going in a straight line, you're going to get punched in the face later on and say, oh my God, where did this come from? So again, just be prepared for the unexpected, I would say, is one thing.
How are you at facing adversity or when things don't go your way?
I believe that I'm very adaptable.
Yeah.
I always try to make plan A work. Yeah. But I always think if it doesn't work, there's always going to be a plan B or a plan C. And don't be afraid to ask for help. So if you come into a crossroad with a situation or a person, ask for help. Maybe I'll ask my managing broker, hey, I'm facing this situation right now. How do you think I should proceed? Because the chances are they've seen that situation happen before. It's not the first time that it's happening. So just don't be afraid to ask for help. And just like anything, it might look like a big problem right now, but you just have to zoom out and take the next step. Okay, it's like chess. You might be in a losing position, but there's always a best move,
Mm.
and you just have to take that best move that you know at that time, and then try to learn from that mistake
Mm.
so that you don't repeat it again.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming here, Russell.
Of
Genuinely
course.
appreciate. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some things I really picked up on.
Yeah.
One is that mindset of how can I add value,
Mm-hmm.
and using that as a means to learn and grow,
Yeah.
and genuinely adding value to yourself that the way. Like, the constant working on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
making that a habit, and generally how you're so much focused on long term.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of there's so many nuggets here, and thank you
Yeah.
for sharing your journey.
It's a long game, and they say most overnight success takes 10 years,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if you think in 10 years, you won't worry about
Mm.
your result. Maybe you don't sell anything this month or your production is not as good, but
Yeah.
maybe the next month
Yeah.
you'll have like higher production. Just
So you're being okay with no results immediately, but you're going with the long game.
I think it would worry me a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not gonna be depressed about it because it's not gonna help you if you're thinking negatively.
Yeah.
It's only gonna help you if you think positively and just keep working. And if you think, just keep doing what you're doing. They
Yeah.
say a bamboo tree doesn't grow for 4 years, and then on its fifth year, all
Shoots
of a
up.
sudden it shoots up.
Yeah.
So just play the long-term game, keep learning. Everything compounds. You may not see it now, but you'll see it in the future. And
Everything compounds. That's a great
everything
line.
compounds, yeah.
Yeah. All
And,
good or bad. Everything.
good or bad. So if
Yeah.
you're like starting to skip gym, if you're eating unhealthy right now, if you're eating burgers and fries, you may not see the deterioration in your body tomorrow,
Yeah.
but you'll see it in a year from now. And you'll be like, oh my God, where did this 50 pounds come from?
Mm.
Same with eating healthy. You're not going to eat a salad today and have six-pack tomorrow.
Mm.
If you have a good balance and you have proper habits, you'll be on your way for sure.
Yeah. No, awesome. Thank you, Russell. Really appreciate
Thanks,
the time.
Raghav. Appreciate it.
And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Please make sure you're following us on social media, and make sure you reach out to Russell for any of the questions you have. Thank you.